like to greet you all, and thanks for coming, and thanks for tuning in at home for the Whitman Municipal Candidates Night. I would like to ask you all, if you have cell phones, if you could mute them to make sure we don't want to hear any who let the dogs out while we're up here, and so if you could do that so we don't have any interruptions, and if you could all stand so we could pledge allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to, at this time, if we could just have a moment of silence, because while I don't know the name of the serviceman, there was a serviceman from Holliston, I believe, that was recently killed. So this could be for every serviceman and woman that is serving us and protecting us today. So please, a moment of silence. Thank you. My name is Brian Zanson. I'm the chairman of the Whitman Republican Town Committee. And
my name is Larry Roach. I am chairman of the Whitman Democratic Town Committee.
And we decided that we thought we should put this candidates night together so we could give better information and have our electorate be informed to the candidates that were running for municipal office. So these questions are going to be posed basically for the selectman race and the school committee race. This is not going to be a debate. It's going to be a Q&A session, and every candidate is going to have the same opportunity to get the question and answer the question. And so we're going to start with some candidates who are uncontested. But before that, I know Larry has some comments. No, the nonpartisan.
On the nonpartisan, sure. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, as we had spoken Monday night at the town meeting, and we just want to kind of reinforce this thought that although Brian is here obviously representing the Republican Town Committee, I'm here representing the Democratic Town Committee, it is strictly a nonpartisan event. I think it's, again, our responsibility as chairs of our respective committees to carry out the responsibility of the committees of informing the citizens and the voters of Whitman on the upcoming election on May 20th, who the candidates are, what their views are, and hopefully we're going to find out tonight what those views are and what their feelings are and how they, as a potential worker for the town, can better our town. So again, it's nonpartisan. We're here as a group. We're here as citizens of Whitman, and hopefully we will get a better understanding at the conclusion of tonight's forum that where we'll be going forward. Thank you.
That's great. Now, helping us tonight, we were very lucky to have these folks step forward for us. We have Tracy Seeley from the Whitman Hanson Express, excuse me. I get your Whitman hat on tonight. We also have Kevin Tocci from WHCA, and he's going to be also asking questions. And we are lucky to have the WHCA director, Eric Dresser. He's going to be the timekeeper. He's going to tell you when you have to be quiet. So we also have Paul in the back. He's I don't know if he's going to give us a wave or not, but he always does our selectmen's meeting as well. So that being said, I'm going to give you just a quick rundown how we're going to run this. Each candidate will have a minute and a half for an opening statement, and a minute and a half for a closing statement. And then when the folks ask questions, you're going to have 2 minutes for your answer. And our timekeeper is going to give you the green light when you can go. And in your opening statement, when you have a half a minute left, he's going to give you the yellow sign to wrap it up, and then the red sign when you're done. And when you're answering the questions, you've got 2 minutes. After a minute, he's going to give you the yellow sign, and red, obviously, at the end. So that being said, on the ballot, which our election is Saturday, May 20th, from 9 to 5, I believe, is the hours. And on the ballot, there's a Proposition 2.5 override question for the fire department, and we have Chief Greno here, and he'd like to give a brief description of this override since it's on the ballot. Chief.
Thank you, Mr. Bezanson. I'd like to thank Mr. Bezanson, Mr. Roach, Kevin Tocci, and everybody involved in putting this night together. I think it's a terrific idea, and I thank those of you who are attending and those of you at home watching to get a little bit more information as to just what May 20th is here to bring you. As Brian said, I'm the fire chief, and I have the great responsibility of 14,000+ residents, life and safety, managing the fire rescue department, which is staffed with 20 full-time firefighters. In 1965, the town decided at that time that with a call volume of 496 emergency runs, that it was time to implement a full-time fire department. And at that time, they opted to put 5 people per shift, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. 52 years later, with a call volume of 2,664 runs a year, we still have the same strength of 5 firefighters per shift. You can do the math in your heads, but it's a 177% increase in call volume since we went full-time in 1965. It is very, very difficult, if not at times impossible, to maintain the public safety that you, the taxpayers, you, the residents, deserve and expect from your fire department. We consistently run double runs, meaning one truck is out, the second truck is out behind it. Quite frequently, there's 3 runs at a time, and on occasions, 4 and 5 runs. There's no rhyme or reason. In 2016, we had 492 times that the fire station was left empty with nobody there to respond. I do not take overrides lightly. I don't take finances lightly. We've explored several different options to increase staffing at the fire department through grants, through within the levy limits, and through the ambulance revenue account. All of those were not obtainable goals. The option that I am left at is to ask you, the taxpayers, for an override of $310,000 to increase the fire department staffing by 1 member per shift, which will bring all shifts to 6 members, 24/7, which will give us a fighting chance for that second call. It'll give us a fighting chance for that room and contents house fire. It will give you that comfort knowing that when you call 911, we should have a response time of less than 4 minutes coming to your front door because we have the proper staffing. That cannot be guaranteed at this time. So I thank you for listening to me this evening. As I said, it's a $310,000 override. It's a little less than $15 per quarter. It's a little less than $60 for the year. That's what I have. If there are any questions, I thank you very much for inviting me this evening, and I hope to see you all out on May 20th and vote your conscience. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, Chief.
Appreciate that. So now we can go on to our non-contested races that are on the ballot. There are quite a few that are non-contested, so Larry's going to read those down for us.
Okay. Thanks, Brian. We thought it was only fair, although tonight's meeting is going to be centered around the school committee and the selectmen's race, we thought it was only fair to mention, and we invited any of the candidates for the uncontested seats to just come, and if they wanted to say hello, introduce themselves. So what I would like to do at this point in time is just run through the uncontested seats. Number 1 would be our town moderator, Mike Seeley, and Mike is here. So Mike, if you'd like to say a few words.
Thank you. I'm Michael Seeley. I'm running for re-election as town moderator. Thank you very much for inviting me to this tonight. I'm running unopposed, but I'm asking the town for their support. This is my running now for my second term as town moderator. The town moderator has 2 primary responsibilities. One is to basically chair the town meeting, and the other to appoint members to the town finance committee, which is a very important committee on this town. I've been trying to keep town meeting efficient, to do the best that we can to get it completed in one night, and with the help of the town administrator and the finance committee, we've been able to put together very nice warrants that have allowed us to do that. I ask you for your support and for your involvement in the town. And if you're interested in serving on the finance committee, get in touch with me through the selectman's office or the clerk's office. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you. We also have uncontested our town treasurer, collector, Mary Beth Carter, who will be running again for a 3-year term. Under the assessor, we have John Noska, who will also be running for a 3-year term. Under the Department of Public Works Commissioner, we have David Cook. David here tonight? Okay. And Ken Layla. And for that particular race, there is a voting for 2. So again, it would be uncontested. Under Public Library Trustee, we have Susan Duran. Susan here? Okay. And we have Ann Trotter. Again, voting for 2 on that uncontested race. Under the Planning Board, for a 1-year term, we have Sheila Marie Salvucci. We have, for a 3-year term on the Planning Board, we have Kim DeMello. And we have, under the Planning Board, for a 5-year term, we have Lonnie Bezanson. And last but certainly not least, under the Board of Health, for a 3-year term, we have Mary Eleanor Kelly. So those are the uncontested ballots, I should say the uncontested races that you'll be voting for on May 20th. Thank you.
I just wanted to thank Mike once again. I think he stepped out, but for making the town meeting one night, that was. I think everybody appreciated that. So I guess at this time we'd like to ask our candidates for school committee to come on up and have a seat at the big boys table. And Mr. Boyce, you can sit on this side. Mr. Otina, you can sit on that side. And I would like to announce that Alexandria Taylor, who is up for re-election for a 3-year term, couldn't be here tonight, and she communicated with me that she's sorry, but she's at work, and there's just no way to make the event. But she wanted to pass along her desire to get reelected. She loves what she does on the school committee, and she appreciates everything that's her support she's had already, and she's kindly asking for your vote. So at this time we have incumbent Stephen D. Boyce running for re-election for a 3-year term, and Marshall Viotina, he's challenging. So at this time we will hand the Q&A portion over to our panel, and you can start your questioning. And
If you want to start with opening.
yeah, we can do that. Yep. So opening statements. Yeah, that's right. So you have a minute and a half.
Okay.
And we'll go alphabetically, I guess, if that's okay with you.
Absolutely.
So, Mr. Boyce, you have a minute and a half for an open, and he's going to tell you when it's a half.
Okay, I'll follow the colors. Thank you, Larry. Thank you, Brian. Thank you, folks, for being here, and those that are watching. My name is Steve Boyce, 39 Beale Ave. I've been a virtually lifelong resident, except for about 4 years right after college. Moved the whole 7 miles south to East Bridgewater. Made my way back, though. Always loved this town. This is my first term and my first time as in an elected position that I'm just finishing up on the school committee. People would often say, well, we see you everywhere. You're on the Friends of the Park. You've been in the schools volunteering. I guess the 36 years plus that I served as a volunteer in the schools just came as a passion. And that's why I felt when there was an open seat in 2014 on the school committee, it would be a great fit. I went in not thinking, though, that I was going to know absolutely everything. There's a few bodies in this room that I learned a lot from who are on our committee, and It's all about hearing the stories and understanding. And it's really the bottom line, and I said this during a crosstalk show with Mr. Tachi, it's really the people. And who are the people? Well, it's the parents, it's the citizens, and most importantly, it's the children that we're educating. I went through these same schools. Last year when Whitman Hanson was looking for an override, I used the time to tell those folks, back in 1960 when my folks were here, and new schools were built and classrooms were being expanded. No, I just ran out of time. Let me just finish my sentence, please. Thank you. We were that same family that they are today, and that's always my feeling and always will be. And thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Now, Mr. O'Dean.
Thank you, Mr. Roach, Mr. Bezanson, Mr. Boyce, and all the members here in attendance tonight. My name is Marshall Otina. I'm a father of 2 boys, a student, the son of a science teacher, a husband, a veteran of the Marine Corps, and a candidate for the Whitman Hanson School Committee. I believe fiercely in the right of every child in this town to receive a top-notch education. Presently, I believe we are falling short of that goal. I pledge that I will work tirelessly with the town, the selectmen, finance committee, administrator, and most importantly, the voters of this town to make sure that our children come first again. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I guess now we can go to the press.
What do you bring or what have you brought to the school committee that it lacks or needs moving forward?
We'll start with Mr. Boyce, alphabetically.
What it lacks, boy, there's so many things that we could be going after, and I know we go with very small steps. I think what it lacks the most right now and what we really need is to be able to get our town to that target share. For the years I spent on the finance committee, that we moved in creative ways to find a way to get things done, and there's been so many projects and so many really human capital things that have happened for this town that we were able to be a part of and made sure that they took place. Creative ways to spend or to find the money to spend. Getting the school district to that target share. I really think it's a top priority, and I think it's something that we need to move on. And I think it's going to benefit us greatly.
Okay.
I'd start by saying what I definitely do not see a lack of passion on the school committee. There are a lot of members that truly care about the education of the children of this town and of the town of Hanson. You could see it last year when we were going for the override. Mr. Boyce in particular was very outspoken. I met with him in several meetings in the schools themselves to see how desperately our kids need more than what we're giving them right now. What I do feel might be lacking is, for lack of a better term, a cold analytical approach. We tried playing on people's emotions last year and showing them, this is what our kids need. They need mental health advocates in school. They need full-day kindergarten so that they're being nurtured from the very beginning. But what we're not seeing is a cold, mathematical way of looking at things to say, all right, this is what we need to do, but how are we going to do it? Other than saying what we need. We need, instead of more questions, we need more answers, and that's what I hope I can bring to the board.
Thank you.
School officials, along with the leaders from Whitman and Hanson, are scheduled to meet on June 12th to discuss ways to better fund the educational needs of the district. Do you feel Proposition 2.5 override is the proper way to achieve that goal, or are there other ways? Please explain.
Start with Mr. Otina.
I do feel Proposition 2.5 is one of the ways. I do think there are other ways that we can go about it. They're getting into the budget and finding places that can be cut and trimmed, not necessarily removed. But at the end of the day, we are so far behind the other districts, especially in our area, while having the lowest tax bills in the area, that it is not fair for asking our children to sacrifice their future when we can't sacrifice just a little bit more on our tax bills. We have the lowest tax bills in the area. We need to be doing more for our children.
And Mr. Otina was right when he said earlier, the social and emotional part within the schools with children. I remember going into middle school myself. It was West Middle, not just the Whitman Middle School. And they sent me right down the guidance council. I guess I was a wreck at the time. I made it through, obviously. But, that's not the case with everyone. And this is not to be made light of or made fun of. But we want to... I've been on the the North River Collaborative and the Pilgrim Area Collaborative, and learned so much about the social and emotional parts, and also through the school committee. And having folks like the SOS that come to us, come to our meetings and really give us a lot of feedback and a lot of sort of that, how's a better way to describe it? I can agree totally with Mr. Otina. I love working with numbers. I've done that as a passion, still do, and would definitely sit down on June 12th and hash that out. And I think it might not take 2.5 to be changed. It might just take, as I mentioned earlier, that creative funding. Thank you.
How important is full-day kindergarten? And as a follow-up question, should that be a priority in fiscal 2019?
Yes. Do you want me to say more? It just seems that we constantly, and this was mentioned by Marshall, we constantly just drag behind. Yeah, we kept rates really low. We can say that that's a great thing, but it isn't always a great thing when now you start to see it's not so much the spending that's low, it's what we're giving that's low. And now we need to really step it up. We got quite a quality staff, incredibly talented staff, and I've worked with them as well as a volunteer in the schools. But it would just be so important to keep these kids, 5-year-old, 5.5, 6-year-old, on the same level as their counterparts, because that's what they're going to be when they get out into the real world. They're going to be competing with these other children, and it does affect you when you're young. There's a 1.5-year-old growing up next door to me, and I can just see how the world in her learning is evolving around her. And it's only another 3.5 years before she enters that kindergarten stage. Full day would be so prudent and so important.
In the interest of full disclosure, I'll let it be known that I have a 5-year-old who will be entering kindergarten this September, and 2 years after that, I have another one following right behind him. Regardless of the cost, my wife and I will be sending our kids to full-day kindergarten because you need the entire day to fit in what kids are learning in kindergarten. It's not the same as when I went through 26 years ago. Right now, kids are learning more every day, and they're sponges, and they need to be nurtured at the very beginning. My wife and I are very fortunate that we will be able to afford to send our kids to full-day kindergarten, but money shouldn't be an issue, not at that age. We shouldn't be setting 2 different tracks for children just because of how much money their parents make at the age of 5. It's unjust, it's unfair, and we're one of about 18% of the towns in Massachusetts that are not giving full free-day kindergarten, so absolutely, it's a priority.
How transparent or forthcoming should an annual school budget be?
I believe transparency is a key, and it's something that I think may lead to a lot of the distrust in this town. I don't think the issue is really as big as people see. I believe the budget presentation is incredibly transparent. I've been to it for the past 2 years. I have the giant book. Everything is there. I think it's a matter of people not being aware as much. If you come to those meetings, the information is always there.
Line item by line item?
Line item by line item. Teacher salaries, paper copy expenses per school. Those are the things that are in there. When people question the transparency issue of the school, I don't know if it's a transparency as much as access. It's not widely distributed.
But it should be something maybe that's distributed at town meeting, perhaps, just like the municipal budget?
Absolutely. I mean, that town budget, obviously, pending if the town has the expense to do that. But, I mean, it's available online, and the meetings are open and free to attend. And as you know, they're broadcast on WHCA if you can't make it down in person. It's transparent. People just need to get that information.
Nice plug.
We've always, thank you,
please.
Mr. Tocci. We've always had an excellent business manager, but I do remember back when I was on the Finance Committee, we didn't have a system like we have now. This new system, Munis, which Mr. Otina, coming in from the public, can look at lines as you go through the budget and so forth. It has done us wonders. Before, to me, it was more like just a string of accounting lines, and you really did not have a good grasp on what could be what. And this new system, and it even brings us in closer to understanding the lines a lot better. Now, does that make sense? Yeah, in a way it does, because we have budgeted items that, we need to transfer certain amounts from one to the other because obviously we can only come to the town just once a year, and we need to understand where those come from. We got percentages. We know what needs to be spent by the end of the school year. We know what percentage we might have left or what might need to be encumbered going past that school year. So this new system has really helped us. It's not you start it one year and boom, automatically everything's perfect. It takes a little while and it takes a little stepping into, but it has been a huge help.
Quick follow-up, but would you be in favor, as I asked Mr. Otina, would you be in favor of it being something that's a published set of documents at
sure.
town meeting for folks to look at?
Absolutely, absolutely.
While we're on the subject of budgets, if you were given a choice to eliminate a program to balance the school district budget, what would you likely cut and why?
To balance a school district budget, what would I cut? I'm not cutting anything. I'm going to find the money. And that actually happened several times last year. There's not going to be another time that I see a parent like a Sean Kane walk out and say, we had no librarians, or come in halfway through the year and say, this is just becoming outrageous. My mom was a library aide. When we cut librarians back in 1988, and it was well before I was involved on any committee, she was the next to go in 1989, the library aides. It just wasn't right. And we're not going to walk down a path like that again. I certainly hope we wouldn't. But no, I would do anything. We actually pulled additional money out of our excess and deficiency last year in hopes that we would get at least a good percentage of that back. And we've been fortunate enough, but it's not a way to balance any checkbook, be it a school committee or a town or anything. But I would want to find out the best creative way and not make another cut that ends up to send us down this path of almost like we're going down a drain. Thank you.
Obviously, there's no one cut that can make up a $2.1 million deficit. There just isn't there. What I would like to see re-examined is not even about an item in the school's budget themselves, but the issue of non-mandated busing, which is paid for by the towns. It doesn't come out of the school's operating budget. But the issue of students who live within a mile and a half of their schools being transported, and that's paid for by the town, which the towns have agreed to pay for. Mm-hmm. If there were a way to work with the finance committee and the selectmen to make sure that, if we re-examined that program and saw that the cost benefit is not there, if we could possibly look at eliminating that program, but ensuring that those funds stay in a program that, directly benefits the school system, that's something I would be in favor of.
Okay, so gentlemen, what I'm going to do here, this is kind of a mini lightning round. There'll be two questions. We'll see how quickly you can answer the question. And the idea is for you to answer it with either a yes or a no without expanding upon that, okay?
Sure.
First question, are you for or against Common Court? Just yes or no?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Are you in favor of school choice?
Yes.
No.
Do you attend town meeting on a regular basis, yes or no?
Yes.
Yes.
How many Whitman town meetings have you attended? Just give a number.
900.
That's a good number.
Two for the 2 years that I've lived in Whitman.
Should a person have prior municipal experience before sitting on a school committee?
Should they?
Yes.
No.
Why not? Explain.
They have participation. They're a citizen. They're a resident of the town. They participate by helping to pay the bill. They participate by walking their dog through the park. They participate by taking their children down to the playground or picking up even a niece and nephew at school. They're a participant of life, and their life happens to be in the 7 square miles.
Okay. Mr. Otina?
As someone who doesn't have prior municipal, on a city position board, I can tell you I don't feel that I didn't have to start somewhere at the bottom. I spent more time digging through the budgets, not only Whitman Hanson last year, but of East Bridgewater, Easton, half a dozen to maybe 24 towns, looking through their school budgets and seeing what are they doing, why are they getting better results, how can we be more like them. I can tell you that I'm going to bring that data analysis exactly, to the seat that I hope to win.
Would you say that you're a proponent of a shared school district, or would you ever support a split from the current Whitman Hanson model?
I would be in favor of splitting if it comes down to that. If it comes down to one town will support its children and one won't, I would be in favor.
I think I can go along with Mr. Otina. I really do like the model of the regional school district. I think we've set a lot of high standards with what we've done. I mentioned I volunteered in the schools, and I wouldn't have had that opportunity. Not that this is about me, but I wouldn't have had that opportunity if we weren't with another town to go around and help in computer labs in more than just one or two schools. But it does come down. We want to relook at the regional agreement or something. Things have age to them. It's not like we just wrote that last year and it's brand new. Things have age to them. So if it takes, it's been 20-something years and we need to relook at something, that's fine. And especially if we start to become very different communities, I think is another good reason to relook at that.
Great. Gentlemen,
Do you have any more questions?
Yeah, probably my last question. If you had to set a goal, if you are fortunate enough to be elected to the school committee, if you had one goal that you'd like to achieve, whether it's something that's for the overall good of the district or as a member participant of the board, what would that goal be?
Target share, probably volunteering back in the schools again. I want to make sure that we make the best of our computer labs. I know computers are just so big and such a huge piece, and I've been very honored to be able to volunteer my time and want to continue to do so.
I could go on. I have a list of about 10 goals. It looks a lot like the student success budget proposal from last year. But number one on that list for me is to get mental health advocates back in the elementary school. This is 2017. This isn't 1996 anymore. It's a different world that our children are living in, and they need someone who's there to make sure that they can be ready to learn. That shouldn't just fall on a teacher. Like I mentioned, I'm the son of a teacher, and she's a fantastic teacher. She always has been. But her job is to teach students biology and chemistry and physics. Her job isn't to deal with, the social needs of a child. That's what she went to school for. That's what the teachers who are in our schools went to school for. Let our teachers teach and let them have adjustment counselors who can take care of our children socially.
You all set?
Excellent.
Okay. Thank you for the Q&As, and now we're going to go to the closing statement. I believe you started with the opening.
I
so
started. Yeah.
We'll give you the closing statement. Start.
I think I've said just about everything I can say tonight. What I can promise you is that I will fight for every student in this town as if they were my own two sons, my niece and my nephew, who are also in this district. Every kid deserves the greatest education. That's the best thing we can do as members of a town. We have a great fire department, as Chief Granholm talked about. We have a great police department that Chief Benton's talked about. Our schools are not in par with what I believe Whitman is as a town. This is a great town, and we need to make sure that our schools reflect that. If you elect me on May 20th, then I promise that I will work every day to make sure that our schools are where they need to be.
Thank you. I've been very honored to have this first term under my belt, but it doesn't mean I know everything or will do everything absolutely correct. But I still want to learn more, and I still want to move forward and serve on the school committee. The town is just quite a dynamic town. If you'd never had the chance, if people have never had the chance to come through our parks or roam around where some of the historic areas are, it's just amazing. But our schools really carve us out, and we've seen the graduates from us, well, at least I have for the last 3 years. It's been amazing. Some of those are students that I was in their classroom volunteering with. I just think it would be huge moving forward to be able to represent and be honored to be on the school committee for another term, and I do ask for your vote on May 20th, and thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Boyce.
Thank you.
This part of our forum has ended now, and we'd like to thank both candidates for being involved in this. It was very informative, and so we thank you. And now we're going to make the switch to the Board of Selectmen candidates.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So if we could have the Selectmen candidates step forward.
Randy will be over here too. And Laura is right here.
Okay. Thank you for having me. Oh, great.
Okay.
Nice to meet you. A lot of work in the town. And you're young.
42.
Okay.
That's a baby to me.
You ready, everyone ready now? Yeah. Settled in nicely?
Yes.
Okay, so now we're at the portion for Board of Selectmen. There is 2 open seats, and we have, actually, I'll let you do the introductions of the folks based on the,
Okay.
yeah, 4 candidates.
Thank you. We have with us tonight, we have Kyle Kowalski, sitting over here to my left. We have Laura Howe. We also have Randy LaMartina. And we have Nina Saul with us this evening. And we thank you all very much for coming and participating in this event. And I'll turn it back to you, Brian.
Okay, just want to remind everybody that you're going to have a 1.5-minute opening statement and a 1.5-minute closing statement, and each question you'll get 2 minutes to answer the question. The green paper is for you to get started. The yellow is your time is running short, and red is wrap it up. So we don't really have any particular reason for how we're going to start, so I think we should probably, I think we decided we were going to go left to right, I think. We're just going to go that way and make it easy. So at this time, we're going to have Nina Salt with your opening statement.
Well, thank you, everyone, for coming. Am I speaking close
Yeah,
enough
just
to this?
pull that over a little
Thank you,
closer.
Randy. I'm Nita Salt, and I'm a Whitman resident and have been since I was a child, with a few years in college, and my parents made the big mistake of moving to California. I knew I was going to get back. So I've been back part-time for about 5 years, and I full-time now for about 1.5 years. And I've already gotten involved in town activities and charities and philanthropy and church activities. And I started the Friends of the Whitman Animal Shelter and donated paintings to the town and all kinds of other things. And my excitement for being back in town, I think, and I hope everybody will feel that. And that's basically it. I came from a big Whitman family, a lot of kids in a small house. Somehow we made it through with 1 bathroom. And that's it. Here I am, and I hope that we'll have a good evening. And thank you, everybody. Devin, WHCA, our political and democratic fellows there, thank you very much. And my fellow candidates, you all look very handsome this evening. Look at this guy. GQ and handsome older fellow. We've got some great people running for... Don't we? Look at
Are
them.
you looking at us?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, look, everybody looks so nice. Glad I didn't wear jeans and a T-shirt.
Okay, Nina, thank you
Thank
very
you.
much. Appreciate it. Mr. Levenson.
All right, thank you for that fine introduction, Nita. I appreciate it. My name is Randy LaMartina. I am a longtime Whitman resident. I attended the Regal Street School, now the Duval School. I attended Whitman Middle School. I went on to Cardinal Spellman High School. I've lived in this town a long time. I've seen a lot of very positive things. I've seen some things slip by the wayside. My wife and I got married, chose to stay here in Whitman. We have a 11-year-old beautiful daughter, currently at the Duval School. And during my time as vice chair in the Finance Committee, I've realized I think we can do things better. And I wanted to take what I've learned on the Finance Committee and move those ideas up to the Board of Selectmen. We have a fantastic board now. We have a great town. I would just be asking that to give me a shot to maybe put some of my ideas into play.
Thank you. Laura?
Hi, I'm Laura Howe. I'd like to thank everyone for having, sorry, can I steal this? I'd like to thank everyone for holding this and inviting me. Well, first, I'm the only Whitmanite here. Whitmanites know that term. I was born here, and I have always lived here. My family is a huge part of this town. This town runs through my blood, through my veins, quite literally. This is not about me, though. Lots of people would like me to say different things. What I really want to say is something that Maya Angelou once said, and that is, I come as one and I stand as 10,000. I actually just have to change it because I stand for 15,000 plus. We have lost our voice in this town. We did not lose it yesterday. We did not lose it last year. We may not have even lost it 20 years ago, because for a long time we lost our voice. This is a very unique form of government that everyone is welcome in, and I appreciate that I have been welcomed as kindly as I have. But I stand here today not to tote the things I've done in my 50 years of this town, because I didn't do them to get a seat on this board. I did them because this is my town. And I appreciate your support, and I hope that I will win your vote.
Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Kowalski?
I recall when my wife and I first moved to this town in 1970. We moved here in 1972. We had just had a baby, and I needed to find full-time work. I was a graduate student down in Pennsylvania at the school that Jeff Deal went to, as a matter of fact. And we ended up I ended up getting a job at Massasoit Community College in Brockton, and we were looking for houses, and I found one in Whitman, and we've been here ever since. But I can recall her going to a meeting about after we were here about 8 to 10 years, and she went to a meeting, and she was introduced as the newcomer in the town, and so I got a feeling, I got a feeling about that. I can understand exactly what Laura's saying when she says that being a Whitmanite is an important thing. It's an important thing to the Whitman people. I've been here almost 50 years. I have learned to love this town. My children went to we just heard the school committee people talk. My children went to the Whitman Public Schools, and they both did well after that. They were well served by them. I've been involved, as most of you know, in local politics for a long time, almost too long to consider. But I was on the school committee for 14 years and on the selectmen for 14. Spent some time on the historical commission, worked on the Whitman Counseling Center board, and now a member of Whitman Will, the opioid crisis committee. I love the town. I do not want to see the town not continue to improve, not continue to get better, and I do whatever I can to help them.
Thank you. Okay. So now we go to the Q&A portion of the program, and we'll go to the panel.
All right. For the newer candidates, why do you want to sit on this board? As you were referred to, Mr. Kowalski, the handsome older gentleman, why do you want to remain on the board?
We'll start with Mr. Lamartina.
I'm running for selectman mainly from what I've learned as serving as vice chair on the finance committee, which is a recommending board. And you can only do so much work on that recommending board. I have some ideas, and you need to be on a policy setting board to do that.
So now go to Laura.
Why would I like to sit on this board is to be completely to be a voice for the people. We are not very well represented, in my opinion, at all times. We're not heard. I have spent my entire life listening to the Whitman residents, and any Whitman resident will tell you that. I hear their concerns. Their concerns are my concerns. My children have been raised in this town, and I love this town. But we are losing this town to division, and we have a social responsibility to serve our town better. I think that we all bring a different skill set, and I am very impressed and very honored to be a part of this group of people. but we all bring a skill set, and I believe that I bring the people.
Thank you.
Thank
Dr.
you.
Kowalski?
I actually couldn't agree with Laura more. If anything is going to hurt Whitman, it would be division. It would be people who are embrace their own points of view so much that they can't see the other's points of view. We've come to. I don't think it's a Whitman problem, though. I
No.
think it's a statewide problem. It's a national problem. It's a global problem. And I think that the impulse that you have, Laura, to bring people together is the right impulse, and that's why I want to continue serving on the board. I want to try to continue to hear as much as I can, and to try to get people to agree with each other on items that they currently disagree on as much as I can, and that's why I would like to continue serving.
Nita?
I agree with a lot of things that have been said here. But the one thing that I have to say is that I do not believe that these problems are insurmountable. And I don't think that it's necessary to continue to talk about a division. Everybody knows what happened in the last year with different overrides and the negativity. Let's be done with that. Let's go forward. And that's why I want to be on the board, so I can help going forward. What's happened in the past, it only can serve as a lesson or to show you where you've been as a way of measurement. So sitting on the board, I think, also is something that is perfect with my skill set. I've served on a lot of charitable boards. I've raised millions of dollars for charities, and I am able to get along with everybody. Whenever there's a big foray and a mess, I tend to be able to see through with clear eyes and comb what needs to be done. And I think that this is sitting on the board with the remainder of the fantastic board we currently have, I think would be easy to go forward because they get along, they work things out, no one stands up and runs out and has a hissy fit when they don't get their way. They sit down, roll their sleeves up, get the work done. And that's basically how I have worked in the past. And we have a fantastic board right now. And I not only want everybody to vote for me, but I also hope that you vote for some of these fantastic candidates, a lot of experience, energy, youth and good looking right here, if that's what you want to vote for. Me, not so much youth. I'm sorry, you're good looking too, Carl. But no.
That wasn't the issue. It was the
I don't have the youth either, you know. Oh, I don't have the youth either. I'm almost 60, so, you know, can't get the youth vote for me either. But it is my sensibility to work in an environment that has a lot of responsibility. I don't run from it. I go to it. I find it exciting when there's a lot of work to be done in a lot of different departments and difficulty finding the ways to make things work.
Right.
So.
Thank you. Thank you.
We asked the school committee candidates, and we'll ask you the same thing about the town school district meeting scheduled for June 12th to discuss ways to better fund the education budget. Do you feel 2.5 override is a proper avenue for reaching that goal, or is there other ways? And please explain.
That would be Laura.
Well, I have an excellent idea. I haven't had a chance to talk to all the great people here today, young and old, but what I did want to propose, and I have looked into this, and I feel that it could be an avenue that we could explore. One is, I don't know what Nita is referring to because my conversation was about many other things that are dividing the town. But one of the things that is dividing the town is this elderly versus young people for school. Our elderly people love children. We wouldn't have children if the elderly weren't in existence. And we need our fire and we need our police. But other towns give their residents a decrease in their tax bill. If we offered that to our seniors, and if we could exempt them from this override, I feel you would have it passed instantly. We did just put $700 roughly on our taxes by our last meeting, and we still need fire. Our first responder services are vitally important to any community, but we have to stop this pitting people against people. It is not the elderly's desire to see children fail. It is not the young people's desire to see elderly go without ambulance service. We are a community, and we only become stronger together. And I would question why no other funds have been able to be found. We have tons of landscaping services and pavement contractors. Has anyone ever asked if we would be willing to do volunteer services on the minimal? We can't erase $2 million overnight, but every little thing could go back to our students. It could go back into, the community. I have heard that I am anti-school. You don't work for high-risk care and be anti-school. It's just not possible. So I would say that would be my ideas, and I would like the board, whether or not I'm voted in, to consider them.
Dr. Kowalski?
Yeah, I think if Proposition 2.5, a successful Proposition 2.5 override is the way to get our schools out of the bottom 10 of the 350 communities in this Commonwealth, I think we need to take it seriously and encourage people to vote for it. As I said before, I spent a lot of time on the school committee, and I have never found that the elderly people in this town were dissatisfied with or didn't support the schools. They always supported the schools to the best of their ability. The schools have reached a point now where they need more funding, and I think we have to kind of look at ourselves as a town and say, can we sacrifice to take care of that aspect of our life? It's an important aspect of our life. And I think Proposition 2.5 override may be the only way that we can really tackle that problem.
Okay. Anita?
I think that the Proposition 2.5, in its general structure, I think it has not kept up with needs over many years. It's similar to Proposition 13 in California, where everything seemed great at first, everyone got tax benefits, but then suddenly there was no money or less money for schools, fire, infrastructure. And so immediately, not too long after that happened, they started school bonds, similar to our overrides here. Every single solitary election was a school bond, a school bond, a school bond, a school bond. So you have to find out what your balance is as a taxpayer. Are you okay with having lower taxes, but then always having to find the money to fund schools, fire, everything that's needed, and having, in our situation, a say in it? But I think a couple things need to be looked at. Prop 2.5, what we're going to do, how we're going to get money from that to go forward. And as far as the specifics of school budget, every town in our states and our schools have the largest budget. And there are formulae that are right on the Commonwealth of Massachusetts guidance lines online for figuring out town budgets. And it has advice about not bankrupting a town or not bankrupting a school and making your schools be the absolute worst. But within a community, you may take this formula and say like 60% of your budget should be schools. Have we reached that 60% of our town budget? Do we need to push it up to 70%? The wealthier towns can certainly do that. They push you right up there, 70%, 80% of their budget to schools. Can Whitman do that? And if we don't feel like we can't, or for some reason we just don't feel like funding schools, I don't know what's going to happen. We must fund schools at the minimal of our 60% of our budget. And if that's tough, we have to find other ways. I know that the school has a few bonds that they have received, and those are coming to an end. So the school have to find ways to replace that. I don't know if the school has maybe some of the school committee would know if there's a bond writing, a grant writing group at schools, or we could get a grant writing group at schools. But yes, I'm very pro, let's get the money for schools.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Lamontina.
Could you repeat the question again?
Officials from Whitman and Hanson and the school district are scheduled to meet June 12th to discuss ways to better fund the education budget. Is Proposition 2.5 override the proper avenue for that, or are there other ways?
I will tell you, I personally feel that Prop 2.5 is an excellent firewall between municipal spending and the taxpayer. I also believe that Prop 2.5 provides an extra layer of protection for our seniors and those that are on fixed incomes. As a member of the Finance Committee, I will tell you that as things stand right now, I do not know if it's going to be possible next year to fund the schools without an override, though. Unless we see a restructuring of how Chapter 70 money's done, we are going to have a very tough time in this town being able to levelly fund the schools next year. That is a fact. It's going to take hard work, not only by every member of the Board of Selectmen, the Finance Committee, and the School Committee, to work together to try and get this done, to not only levelly fund, but to build back these programs. Now, I am the parent of an 11-year-old fifth grader. I also am lucky enough to have two grandparents approaching 90, still living in their own home, and very active still to this day in the community. We need to find the balance, absolutely. But if we are strictly saying, is 2.5 going to be enough for the schools, I absolutely do not believe it'll be enough next year.
The Whitman Police Station was built under Prop 2.5, the levy limit. Some have applauded this approach. Others have questioned it, saying that it may be hurting the town's finances now and in the future. If possible, if plausible, would you be in favor of shifting the balance of that debt exclusion to a debt exclusion to free up revenue under the levy limit, creating more revenue under the levy limit?
That's for Dr. Carr.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. I recall when we built the police station, and it took a lot of hard work on the part of the Finance Committee and the rest of the Finance Committee in particular to come up with a plan whereby an override would not be in play, and that we would come in under the levy limit, have a new police station that was sorely needed. And I applauded that effort at that time. Looking back, and someone asked me this question the other day, was it the perfect move to make? I'm not sure right now it was the perfect move to make, but it's a move that we have made. Your question suggests a way to deal with the after effect of that move, to try to move some of the debt that we still have to another place. That's something that deserves some serious consideration, and I would certainly do that.
I do believe with what Dr. Kowalski said. I would be curious to find out as though if that relieved us of any possibilities for money for schools. I mean, is there a regulation that we cannot use any money that it freed up for another purpose? Does it have to be kept in a certain fund? I'm all for balancing a budget any way you can get it done. We have to do that in our personal families. We have to find ways to get things paid. And it's not always easy. So that's a possibility. And I would love it if it could go for schools. That would be fantastic. Any extra money we had. So, Mr. Lamontagne?
This is a fantastic question. As a matter of fact, in a recent Finance Committee meeting, I brought the same idea up. In 2009, 2010, we bonded the police station and fire department and town hall improvements. Absolutely 100% things that needed to be done. However, what we did at that time was take $864,000 a year right off the top, right out of the levy. Since that time period, this town has not seen any substantial growth in any department. Right off the top, we're starting $864,000 in the hole. To rebond that debt would be the best thing probably we could do other than an override at this time. And as we're looking forward now to possibly building a DPW building, which is sorely needed, if the town had the appetite, we absolutely should look at building costs of the DPW and rebonding and restructuring the debt we have outside of the levy. If that money came back into the levy, we would have a lot more room for advancement.
I agree with everyone here, and I'm all for ways of finding out where that money can go, because if it doesn't go there, then maybe to the schools, I should have said. Maybe it could go to the DPW project, which should have been done a few years ago, but obviously, like anybody's home budget, we only have so much money. I don't know the particulars. That's why we work with finance committees and we work together to find the best solutions. It's very sad how many needs we have. I would have liked to have come to the table when we didn't need desperately fire. We didn't need desperately schools. We need everything in schools. All the programs that are gone when I was a child, I would love to see come back. But that is like in all towns, I do understand. But we also need the DPW building. That is such an old building, and we need to find a way to do it all. And hopefully we can find solutions working all together.
What are some of the ways the town can increase its tax base and alleviate some of the financial burden from residents? We've spoken, touched a little bit on that tonight.
I think that's you.
I think that to begin with, we need to look inward. We need to figure out how can we better work things? What are our bills? How can we reduce our insurances? Our insurance bills are terribly high. We recently voted, the board recently voted to not pay the insurance, I believe, on the Park Avenue building. That's a savings. You have to look inward first as the same in your home budget. I think that we also need to look at ways that spending money will make money, because that is a possibility too. Like solar. Can we put big solar array like Braintree has to reduce some of our electrical bills for town buildings? Can we do geothermal in the new DPW building? Can it be covered with solar and have a geothermal unit? I think there's ways to spend money that will make money on a long-term basis. And restructuring debt also, real important. So that's it going forward. I think it's real important, and certainly pulling our belt in and making sure we're going toward the future, making the town perfect, fixing the sidewalks, making sure all our 100-year-old pipes are fixed and they're not going to burst. I was in a steam pipe explosion in New York City, and those old pipes, they do explode. I can tell you that. And we need to make sure we do that for the town too, not just finding ways to stop spending money. We could keep our budget as it is, fix everything so we don't have more debt in the future. I think that Frank has been very good at helping everybody understand the insurance problems and the debt problems. And it is scary when you have suddenly your town cannot pay its bills. And next year, as Mr. Lamontina said, it's going to be, I don't know if it's going to be tight or not going to be able to happen. But it needs to be, all those things need to be looked at. We need to get very creative and find ways to pull our belt in and be fiscally extremely conservative. Thank you.
As a town, we actually have already looked for solar opportunities. Last year's town meeting, the Finance Committee funded a study for solar. We've also seen 40R projects come up, and not too much was done with that. But we do need to look for new growth opportunities if we have it. This is a town that's tax base is 94% based off home tax. We don't have a lot of not a lot of room to build any major retail, but we do need to look for it. We do have a couple parcels left that possibly would be suitable, but we also need to look for possibly a lot more grant opportunities within each department. Although you cannot build a budget off of grants, you can alleviate some pressure within that budget short term with them. And then, like Nita said, is look for ways to possibly reduce expenses. But if you know these budgets, there is not a lot of waste in them. This is a town, and I will say, does not have waste. And as a finance committee member, I hear that quite a bit, is this group is spending too much, this group is spending too much. We are not overspending. We do not have a spending problem in this town. We have a revenue problem.
Sorry, I was caught off guard because I hear how we don't have a spending problem. But yet, sadly, at the meeting the other day, I was one of the only people I saw stand up to say no to a 35% increase in one person's pay. I was not against 2.5%, but I had wondered why we were asking for increases when we are saying that our children are suffering. They do not have the schooling. I heard they don't have the counseling. The counseling upsets me as much as the schooling. But then we could go back to recess and art and all of the other social programs that we are failing our children with. I have a budget at home. It started a long time ago. It first started when I was homeless and I had to figure out how to eat. That's when you really figure out your budget. Then it started June 4th of 1905 when my husband became disabled. And I had 2 children and the roof over my head that I was conceived in, and my grandfather died at 99 years old in my arms in. That's another time with a mortgage that you figure out your budget. I don't know what everybody's budget is up here, but I can tell you one thing. No one here seems to know what a real tight budget is, because I did not see it on town hall floor. Had I seen it, if there were handheld devices, quite possibly. But at least I'm willing, even as an outsider, to stand here and stand up for my town and what is right. And I don't find that 35% increase right. And really, I don't have very much else to say on that topic.
Dr. Coe.
I'm trying to recall what the question was. I think the original question was how to increase the tax base.
Yes.
Really good question. I haven't got a clue. We are. I like what Nita said. I like what Randy said about moving things around. To increase the tax base in this town is either to find somebody to build McMansions that we can sell to people, or to increase the number of donut shops and used car lots in town, because that apparently are our major businesses. We're not a town that's easy to expand as far as the business is concerned. We're a small town. We are separated from major highways. It's a difficult job, so I'm not sure exactly what the answers are, but it's something that obviously needs some more study.
How has the drug epidemic impacted this community? It's impacted a lot of communities around the South Shore and the Commonwealth. If elected, what would you like to see done to help Whitman residents deal with addiction and also help their families?
Addiction, not only in this town, nationwide, globally, is one of the biggest problems we're facing today. I believe it was 2013 where Whitman had more per capita deaths than overdoses than Brockton did. Programs need funding to get started. We can either look for a federal grant, state grant, or we could ourselves try to find some funding for it. I would love to see the police and fire, the two departments that are in the trenches every day, seeing this firsthand. As a firefighter myself, retired firefighter, I saw it constantly. And you look at, and as you're bringing somebody back with Narcan, as they come back and you look up to their family members who found them, it's something that will stay with you for the rest of your life. You see how this affects people. Not only the person who's sick and addicted, but how it affects their families. When you go into a home of a drug-addicted mother and you see a 4- and 5-year-old child just sitting on the couch with a parent that's passed out, this is a real problem. It's not going away. And the only way programs between seniors and children, that may work, but you need to take this battle head on. And I would say starting a program with some funding in this town involving the police department, involving the fire department, involving volunteers, involving the schools. It really, again, I'm sorry I left the schools out, but it should start, schools need to be just as involved as police and fire. It's going to take everyone to stop this problem. It's going to take your neighbor. It's going to take a teacher. It's going to take a policeman. This is a problem facing all of us.
Thank you. Laura?
Well, this is kind of my area of expertise because I worked in high-risk child care for 8 years. And like Randy, you never forget what you see. Children are being impacted on such a variety of ways. Addiction is one of them. The opioid addiction is multifaceted, and there's not one solution. The number one solution that comes from anything is building strong families. You do not build strong families tearing apart people on social media by getting in huge debates and finding issue with each other, commonality, and finding ways to work together. I have been on the other end of children with this opioid crisis because we go in the middle of the night and we remove these children from those homes. And then they go into high-risk homes where then there's another burden on other families that welcome these children into their homes. Because these kids are hurting, and many kids are hurting. That's why we need to work on so many solutions of getting our older people and our younger people together. They can only benefit from each other. Community only benefits when it is strong, and it only benefits together. And it will never, ever work with fighting. I have had to work with people that most people would never want to meet in their entire lifetime. We are not allowed to have an opinion. We are not allowed to insult them. And we are to find their strengths and rehabilitate them. I have seen so much catfighting in this town about things that don't matter. Because the things that matter to me are that children are nurtured and they grow into those elderly people that then we are looking to in the community as role models.
Dr. Carl?
Most of you know that my wife is the director of the High Point Treatment Center in Brockton. She's been involved in addictions nursing and management since 1973. She started working at the Catholic Charities Detox when it opened up in 1973 in Brockton. We live the opioid crisis all the time in our homes. Actually, Whitman's schools, police, and fire have been actively involved in trying to deal with this problem. It's not a problem that's going to be solved overnight at all, clearly. But there is a coalition, an opioid overdose coalition, that's funded by grants, that is funded by the District Attorney's Office in Plymouth County, by the Mayor's Office in Brockton. Whitman is a partner in those grants, in that program. They have bi-weekly meetings. Twice a month they have monthly meetings of the whole coalition, which involves East Bridgewater and Rockland and Brockton and Hanson and Whitman. The group Whitman Hanson Will is our particularly local group. There are representatives from the fire department and the police department on that group that goes to regular meetings. The high school has been incredibly strong in supporting this effort. Most of the energy in fighting the crisis has come from counselors and people at the high school who are involved in this coalition. If there's a need that we have in this town as far as the opioid crisis is concerned, it's that the parents and the friends of citizens of this town need to get more involved in the coalition that I've just spoken about that already exists. We have school people, we have police, we have fire that are involved. We need the other citizens to hear our invitation and to come. When Randy talks about the opioid crisis being critical, I just want to mention one statistic here. If you were to take, and some people have heard this before, if you were to take a 5-year period of time back in the middle 2000s, middle 2010s there, and were to count every man and woman who died in Afghanistan or Iraq, multiply that number by 42, and you would have the number of opioid overdose deaths in Massachusetts over that same period of time. It's not a problem that's going away. It's a problem that we continue to work on, and I love the question, Kevin, and I think the town is on its way to dealing with it. It just needs to get a little bit more push, a little more help from the parents and the citizens of the town.
You haven't answered this, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Thanks, Brian.
Sorry.
No, I
Sleep
have
at
it
the
too
wheel.
close. We still love you. It's all right. I do think that's a fantastic question, Kevin. And I am aware of everything Dr. Kowalski said. There's Whitman Will. We have wonderful Officer Harrington working with kids. But I think, and I personally have very close friends who have recently lost sons and daughters to overdose. It's not in any one part of town. It's rich people, poor people, everyone. Whitman, Hanson, Wellesley, Natick, everywhere. And I think one of the main things is that people need to not only get involved, like Dr. Kowalski said, but I think there's something very important that people need to realize, and that's that relapse is a big part of recovery. I believe that addicts relapse several times before they finally get hold of it. So I think that's something that even the parents of an addict don't realize, and they're in denial at first, and they don't know where to go. So I have a strange thing that may or may not work, and that's that I think the towns or the hospitals where your wife works, and maybe our town health department, I think that everybody should have a little business card that has the name of the, in East Bridgewater is the church that runs the care program, Rockland has care, there's Whitman Will. There should be phone numbers that anybody can take the card out of their wallet, out of their pocket, and give to somebody who says, my son, I believe, is addicted. Or someone who you know is addicted. And have resources for them to go and to have understanding. Also have places for parents and support and caregivers to understand that their addict will fail. It is happening. How many times have we all been on diets and failed, lost 50, gained 70 back? It's addiction to sugar and drugs. It's in our brain. It's a chemiological process that happens and takes over people. And I think that until we go forward and be very proactive with these, you might think my business card idea is silly, I don't know, but making everyone aware that it's a big, big process to do it, but it can be done. Down.
Thank you.
We've touched on the opioid crisis. Is this what you feel is the most pressing issue in Whitman, or is there another one that you focus on, and what plans do you have for addressing it?
That would be Laura.
I think that there are so many problems in Whitman that I'd need all night to talk. We are losing more, I don't know what you would call them, projects and things that we do with people. We really have people struggling to survive. People don't have any extra money. I've been trying to wrap my head around where people are going to come up with this extra $700 a year since it happened. And we still need fire, and we still need everything else. We need to bring more community-based programs back to Whitman. This is a town that is rich in heritage of community. We all care about our neighbors. Everyone wants to do what's best for Whitman, but nobody knows how to do it. Nobody feels a part anymore. We wanted farmers market. I am a huge component for farmers market. I would love to see farmers market. The churches and the different groups, there was a lot of farms that are no longer, the people have died and gone, and they supported all these programs that nobody knows about. So all the butternut squash from the man down on Harvard Street is gone, but probably nobody knew about the butternut squash, about that, and didn't know that the man died last year. We need programs, farmers market, community garden, intervention programs. Our police department does a wonderful job, but do you know how many other programs they could do through grants and different things that they're just not doing now because there's not the funding? I want to see more community-based projects. We do other things at the town park. I always had horses my whole life. We sign a little thing. You fall off your horse, you don't sue us. We can't have something that simple at the park so that we can provide healthy, fresh fruit and vegetable for our population that just can't afford it. I feel we can. I feel we can take all of these surrounding towns, rich or poor, look at their projects that they do and bring them to our community for what we need. That's my feelings.
Thank you.
Dr. Carl?
The question again. What? I'm sorry.
What's the most pressing problem you see in town? Is it the opioid crisis, or is there another one you want to focus on, and what plans you have to resolve it?
Thanks, Tracy. I think that two biggest problems probably that we need to deal with are the opioid crisis, but everybody has to deal with that, and adequately taking care of our schools. I think those are the big things on the horizon that we need to get our heads together and figure out a way to deal with them. And one of the ways we do it is to maybe look at ourselves a little bit differently. This is going to seem like a digression, but it's really not. I still teach part-time. I retired from a full-time job 8 years ago. I tell my students in the first class that I grade on looks. That if they're good-looking, they're going to do well. If they're not, they won't. And then I ask them if that's superficial. Does that sound superficial to you? And of course they say, well, yeah, it is. And I said, well, it's really not. And I tell the story that I was given an opportunity when I was in grad school to teach a course called Offbeat English. And it's a course for people who have failed out of English composition. They fail out of the school if they flunk it 3 times. And so I went to a mentor of mine and to ask him what I would find out when I walked into this classroom with people, all who had failed English at least once or twice. And he was this big old fat guy from Texas. Pulled up his belt, like Chris Farley, and he says, well, Carl, you know what you're going to see in that room? I said, no, what, sir? He says, you're going to see a bunch of ugly people. And I said, what are you talking about? He says, you're going to see a bunch of ugly people. Good-looking people fail. No, ugly people fail. Good-looking people don't. Simple as that. I thought he was nuts. There's nothing to do with here and here. I walked into the room, and it was the sorriest-looking group of people I've ever seen in my life. And I didn't know how I was going to be able to deal with them for 15 weeks, 3 hours a week. We started working together. They started doing better on their papers. And they got to be a pretty good-looking class by the time the semester was over. The lesson is, and it's a lesson that the town can learn too, when you have a failure, wipe it off your face as fast as you can. Put it behind you. Start working on making things better. When you succeed, wear that. When you do well, wear that. There are a lot of things in this town that we do well. Wear it. We'll become a really much better looking town if we start acknowledging the good things that we do. And it will happen a lot quicker if we take the bad things that we do and put them behind us, start going forward. I don't know if that's an answer to your question or not, but it was opioids in schools first.
Well, I want to say amen.
I so enjoy your digressions. They're wonderful. Thank you, Carl.
But that was not a digression, and I didn't
No,
click my
that's
pen
very
while I was
good.
doing it.
No, I'm doing it too.
Nita came
So,
up to me,
stop, Carl. Don't
No, this
tell
is
that
great.
story.
Nita came up to me a couple of months ago, and she says, you do something during a meeting that's really distracting. I says, what? She says, you're clicking your pen constantly. I brought a pen tonight that doesn't click.
Oh, thank you very much,
And I've
Carl.
been using felt tip ever since.
And Brian, you got to keep working on it.
Trying.
I think
sorry.
the mic clicks that. I'm not sure. I don't have anything to click. Let's see. So does it pick it up?
Oh, it does.
It does, see? You're welcome for that little hint. So your question is fantastic. And of course, the opiate issue is heartbreaking and a long one to solve. But I think that Carl's story took my thoughts away. But I do not view Whitman. First of all, I'm the kind of personality that feels there are no problems, there are only solutions which have not been found, and we'll find them. But I think that this is not a Dickinsonian village that is filled with beggars on the street who are tearing people apart. There are issues, and they have happened over a long period of time. Sidewalks. There are projects that streets. DPW has fixed a few streets. If you want your street fixed, please contact DPW. I know of Winter, Star, Rock, few streets that are in bad condition. Please, if you live there, please call DPW. When I drive on your street, I'd like it to be better. But I think those need to be worked on. Infrastructure, schools, please, yes. I am a big proponent of paraprofessionals, particularly from K through 5, because that's where learning disabilities are found. Dyslexia, for example, and hearing problems, vision problems. Those are found in the early ages, and teachers need to be very free to examine every child who's suffering slowness in math or in reading and comprehension. So I think that schools, of course, are a big problem, but I don't think they are resolved easily, but not unresolvable. And I just think that when I go around the park blooming in right now, it's so lovely, and I see our town, it's fantastic. And it's amazing, and we will resolve all of our problems with everybody's help, not just the board select here, or the Board of Finance, everybody pitching in. We'll all pick up trash and do things and get it done as we can. Thank you. Yeah, Randy?
God, I wish I had the stage presence of you three.
I'm a former opera singer, so, that's just not fair,
You talk opiate crisis, and then you talk financial problems. To me, it's in two different leagues. You look at a parent who's lost a child to opiate abuse. How do you say that's not the biggest problem we face today? Now, this town does have some financial problems, and we will tackle them. But on social issues, an opiate death or addiction, I'm sorry, but you can't compare that to butternut squash and cracks in sidewalks. It's serious. And it needs to be recognized because it's affecting this town. It's affecting our kids. And I don't think it can be taken lightly. So yes, I would agree with you that the number one social problem affecting this town is opiate abuse.
Folks, what I'm going to do here is probably one of my favorite part of any particular forum that I've ever been at. It's going to be, of course, an abbreviated form. But what it does is it exercises your ability to give an answer that you're not necessarily just trying to fill in a minute and a half to 2 minutes. You got to give me a quick, simple answer, whether it's yes or no, or a sentence. Okay? And if you go beyond a sentence, I will stop you. Okay? So I'll give you two of these quick, questions. First one would be, would you ever vote for or support an operational override to fund the town's budget?
Dr. Carl, I think you're
It's
up.
either yes or no.
Yes.
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 No.
Okay. Next one. This one you can give either a yes or a no, and then you have one sentence. Okay? We touched upon it a little bit earlier, but we really didn't delve into it. Are you in favor of a new DPW building? Yes or no? And how would you see the town funding it? Nita?
Yes, with solar and geothermal also.
Okay.
Well, that would take me out of my no about the overrides.
Remember a sentence?
Okay, babe, you got it. One sentence. Yes.
Randy?
Yes, debt exclusion.
Okay. Laura?
Yes. Debt exclusion.
Yes,
Carl?
what the three of them said. I like a combination of what Rita said and what Randy and Laura said.
Thank you, folks.
You're welcome, Carl.
Do you attend town meeting on a regular basis, yes or no?
Yes.
Yes.
I've been here a long time, and I attended several, and I watched them on TV.
Yes.
Okay, should a person have prior municipal experience before running for selectman? Short
I lost
sentence.
track of who was supposed to start.
I think Randy.
I think it's Randy, yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No.
You can respond to that really shortly if you want to.
Short sentence.
It is not necessary. It is very helpful.
Laura?
No, you have requirements to be voted on or elected, and the requirements you have to fulfill. Absolutely.
No, I don't think so. I agree with what Randy said. It helps, but it's not totally necessary.
The history of selectmen in the town of Whitman and all of New England, the answer would be no, because the demographics, the history of it, the percentage is 67 to 70% have not had municipal experience. Whitman has been farmers and factory people. During the war, there was fewer men in town also, and frequently someone who was farmer had to step up and take it. But I do think that it is imperative to have some type of experience, as I have with raising a lot of money and dealing with a lot of personalities and people. And if you can tell a good story like Carl, it's great.
Okay. To the three new selectmen candidates, what do you bring to the Board of Selectmen, to the incumbent? What have you brought? Do you feel that this board lacks, or do you feel needs moving forward?
That's easy. The easiest one you've asked me, the voice of the people. And that's because I talk to the people every single day. And I didn't just start a year ago when I decided to run for selectman. I have spent my life talking to this community. I've spent my life spending my own money beautifying the park and cleaning up trash of this street and that street, not just my own street. I took everything that I have done publicly throughout the world, and I brought it back to this town long before I ever thought 5 weeks ago of running for selectman. So the voice of the people is exactly and the only thing that is important to me to bring.
Dr. Carl?
What have I brought? What have I brought? Well, I brought a lot of I brought a number of years of experience on the school committee to the selectmen when I joined it. And also my experience working as a college administrator and a teacher, and in a number of organizations in Brockton, because that's where I worked. So I brought some kind of experience there. I also am not the son of a teacher, but I'm, as one of the school committee candidates was, but I'm the son of an airline pilot. And my father needed things to be in neat little piles. Otherwise, the plane would go down. And if you notice, this is at a perfect right angle. And I like things in neat little piles. I like things tied up. I think that's one of the things that I would bring to the Board of Selectmen, as I have, is to keep things running in an orderly fashion.
Yeah.
Well, I think that the current board is fantastic. And Ms. Green, who left the board to be town administrator, she had great presence on the board, too. One thing they are lacking right now is me. And I'm kidding. I think that the great thing about the current board that I could continue with is I'm able to resolve without losing my temper. I have no agenda. I will never get up and walk away and have a hissy fit if something doesn't go my way. I'll work on it. We'll talk about it, get it together, keep it together. I won't bring personal politics into it. And I thoroughly enjoy the way their meetings are structured. They're fast. Carl runs a good, organized meeting. And they're informative. And he's patient with everybody who comes up to speak with from the public. So I think that I would fit right in with that patience. And I'm very fiscally responsible. And I love Whitman.
I think I bring a very strong knowledge of the financial aspects of this town, of how to put the budget together, what the demands are on our taxpayers. I also feel that in my previous life as a firefighter, I know what it takes to persevere when things get tough, when there are those hard situations. And I've proven that, and I will prove it to the townspeople. I have been here a very long time. I've learned a lot about this town. I actually do consider myself a Whitmanite.
Me too.
And I love this town, and I've done everything I can from the time I took my position at the Finance Committee to learn what went on in that role. And I promise I will do that if given the chance on the Board of Selectmen.
Thank you. Any more questions?
Yeah, well, one more.
Okay.
Abington currently has one tax rate that both residents and businesses pay. How do you feel about the split tax rate? And if you will, please make a case for or against such a proposal.
Who's up next?
I think Dr. Qualley touched on that before.
Carl, you want to take it?
Sure. We've been keeping the same tax rate for both businesses and commercial and non-commercial pieces of property for a long time in order to not discourage businesses from coming to Whitman. And it's something that we've been very consistent with. I think we probably need to keep doing that. Even though what I said earlier is still true. It's a very hard place to attract new businesses to, but we're not going to attract them by changing the rates.
My turn. Absolutely, I agree with Kyle 100%.
I guess not.
At a time where everybody's struggling, businesses are as well, and getting them into our town would be the best way to keep them here. And I believe that we have a lot of land space that's already been businesses that are closed up, that we should maybe start looking for people to come to our town. I know I had heard a while ago that Market Basket was considering coming, and then it did not. Maybe Aldi's would come. We need to have people reach out sometimes and get businesses interested in Whitman. Our town has so much to offer businesses, and this exact tax program is one of those things. And maybe these businesses are not aware of that.
I have a brother who is retired from EMC Computer Corporation. I have a friend on Amazon, and I asked them about what's going on with the tech belt in Massachusetts. Businesses leaving and moving to North Carolina, and I said, what would it take? I asked my brother, what would it take to come for EMC to make a small computer company here? Well, what would it take for Amazon to come? What would it take? The first thing they all have said was room. It's not financially feasible for large companies to make a small company, and that's all we have room for. The other thing that they did say is attractive is the tax rate. So you can't get rid of that, because that is attractive to businesses. And it's attractive to young people starting out who want to hang up a shingle and say, I practice law, I'm an accountant, I want to be a mechanic, and they want to hang up a shingle and start their business, and tax is a big thing for them. So to have a rate that's closer to our homes, I think is very important. And I don't think the rate should be changed. I think it's a great idea. So.
It's now I'm going to try to be funny. As you start to get ready to run for an office like this, you hear about this move called the pivot, which is you try to move off the question that's actually asked. And we are pivoting all over the place this evening. So I'm going to give you a direct answer is no, absolutely not. This town cannot afford to up or change the tax rate for a business. We need more business. Consider it a tax cut if we didn't up it to bring the businesses in. That will be the only way we will be able not to increase taxes on our homeowners.
Okay. That's it. All right. We've ended the Q&A portion, and now we're going to go into the 1.5 minute closing statements. And I believe the opening was with you, so
Correct.
we will start with you.
Okay. Like I said, my name's Randy Lamatina. I have lived here a very long time. I am running for the Board of Selectmen for a very vanilla reason. I care about this town. I care about our children and the quality of education that they receive. I care about quality of life issues that affect each and every one of us, from the youngest resident to our oldest senior. And I care that Whitman remains a place that their well-being and their safety is protected. And what I promise, if elected on May 20th, is I will fight tooth and nail to preserve those values.
Thank you.
Laura?
Well, as everyone knows, I'm running my campaign on accountability, transparency, and approachability. I have seen none of the above. I have seen great people. I have seen them say great things. But I then go out to the street and to my home, and I see people that cannot afford their bills. I see people that are afraid to let their kids play outside, or that are being targeted in social media. And then they live a very different life for a very long time. We need to find solutions, we need to work together, and we need to all come together. I don't believe in intimidation tactics, and I don't think that's what keeps people from participating in government. If I can stand here and not even try to fit in because I am that confident in myself, which is what I would like for children to feel every day, then I think that everybody could come to government. But they have to feel they can do something in government. They have to feel they can make a change and make a difference. And although I've heard a lot of good speeches, I have heard these same speeches, well, I'm 50. My campaign is my birthday present. I have no sponsors. I heard someone say they don't have an agenda. I have no agenda. I have no sponsors, and I have no party affiliation because I'm unenrolled. My care and my love is for this community and the people in it. And I'd love to attend some of these meetings if people get up and storm out, because if I ever stormed out of a DCF meeting or a high-risk meeting, I would be fired instantly. So maybe we need more accountability, but that's for the voters to decide.
Dr. Kyle?
I had a conversation yesterday afternoon with one of my favorite people. We talked for about an hour and a half. Mary Alice Kirby. I went to speak to her, talk to her about things. Talked about her husband, talked about Whitman, talked about things that she's reading. This is actually a videotape of Solzhenitsyn's Nobel Peace Prize speech. She's now reading the Gulag Archipelago, of all things. And I want to get it changed from this ancient model here to a DVD that she can see on her TV. But we talked about town. We talked about town politics. We talked about a lot of things. And the thing that became very clear to me as I was speaking with Mary Alice was how much I really loved being in this town. I was born in Texas. I'm a Texan. I can go back to Texas tomorrow, and the Texas Rangers will help me load my stuff. But I was living in Weymouth, Massachusetts by the time I was a year old. And I grew up in the South Shore, Weymouth and Braintree, went off to Pennsylvania to grad school, then ended up in Whitman. And all I knew about Whitman was that it was the place where the toll house was, because my parents used to take the 7 little Kowalski kids for their 10th birthday dinner down at the toll house. And I knew it was where King's Castle was. And I knew that my grandfather's sister married a man from Whitman who was a fire chief. That's all I knew about Whitman. But I've been here for almost 50 years now. We have raised a family here. I really love this town. It's my hometown. It's my hometown now. It's been an honor and a privilege to serve it for the number of years that I have. And I would just like to continue doing so, and I would ask for your support. Thank you.
And finally, Nita.
I love that trip down memory lane, Carl. Oh, it was
I
such
started off life as a child.
Oh, it was funny how we have that in common. It was, oh gosh, now I'm thinking about King's Castle. That was a huge treat when we were growing up. We had, the 7 of us going over there was something special. It wasn't something you did every day. Kids have a lot nowadays compared to your once yearly trip to King's Castle. But I have loved Whitman my whole life. Growing up here was magical. I frequently try to tell myself, oh, it was just the times. Times were simpler. But no, it was Whitman. Whitman's so small that it's manageable. And it's currently today manageable for children. They have their park, their church, their school. Everything is concise. It's this little microcosm of Americana. And I'm grateful to live here because of that. My kids say it reminds them of Animal Crossing, the video game Animal Crossing. But I just enjoy Whitman so much, and I think that my sensibilities are great for a multifaceted position such as a board of select. And I don't think all of the big problems that we have are insurmountable. They're not. Are they easy always to resolve? Are our personal problems easy to resolve? No. But you stick to it, you get it done, you get creative, you think out of the box, you stay positive. And as far as accountability, it's able to see all the records from BOS meetings and from town are available. They're all online. I would like to see all of our bylaws online. I believe Frank said that's been an on and off project, but it'd be nice if you could click and see all of our bylaws. But everything is available to you, which you avail yourself to. So if people want to know, if you see me in the grocery store and I'm on the Board of Select, come ask me. If you want to yell at me, go ahead. So thank you. I really appreciate your vote. Have a blessed night.
All right, folks, I guess that's it. Any closing statement from you?
No, I'd just like to thank all the candidates for both the school committee and the selectmen of coming here tonight. I think it's certainly been very entertaining for me. And hopefully everybody here tonight and everybody watching at home, please come out and vote on the 20th. Very, very important. Get your friends, your neighbors to come on out. If you're not going to be in town for whatever reason, absentee ballots are available. Please take advantage of that. But the bottom line is these people have obviously made a case that they care about Whitman. They want to see Whitman continue to improve. And one of the ways that you can do that as a citizen is to come out on May 20th and vote. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Larry. Michael. My sense of this meeting is probably great pride for this town. I've lived in this town since 1960, and I've been on the Board of Selectmen since 2004. And quite honestly, between the candidates tonight for school committee and the Board of Selectmen, I'm very proud of what went on here tonight, and all of these candidates who put themselves on the line for these positions, because no matter what happens on the 20th, Whitman has a bright future with these kind of candidates running for these positions. So I would like to thank all of these candidates for just putting themselves out there. Whether you win or you lose, you're making Whitman a better place. And in all, that's what we're here for, is to make Whitman a better place. So thank you to Whitman Express, WHCA TV, and everybody who has volunteered. Thank you to Larry, Democratic Town Committee, my volunteers from the Republican Town Committee, and the citizens for coming here tonight and for watching at home and hopefully on YouTube for the next couple of weeks before the election. The election's the 20th. It's from 9 to 5. And in years past, we've had low percentage turnouts for voting. So let's show everyone that we can come out in big numbers and vote, because our town's worth it. So let's show everyone the town that we can be. So thank you again for coming. It's been an honor to be here with Larry and these candidates running this. Hopefully we'll be able to do this every year. So thanks again for coming.
And thank you, Brian.
Thanks.
So nice to meet you. Thank you for your service on the finance board. Really appreciate it. You're a great young man.